What if everything you thought you knew about women and men was backwards? Imagine you were raised to believe that men were naturally superior in almost every way, and then you find out that science says quite the opposite. And then you find out that you're living in a male supremacy, and you don't have the right chin to tell you. So here we go. Women After All by Dr. Melvin Konner is about sex evolution and the end of male supremacy. It is hard to find a book that acknowledges male supremacy that we live in. If you go online, there's a lot of leftist articles about white uh, female supremacists, but they're more like white supremacists that are female, not actual female supremacists. The left tends to attack all women that don't agree with it and put those women down as somehow being backwards and against their own interests. Um, for me, the left or the right are both misogynistic manstitutions. And they inherently are two boys' clubs that are fighting over who's got more legitimate violence. Right now, the topic is, do black males get to beat up women, or is it just white males? That's basically what I see. So, women dying all the time from men and male violence contouring the world we live in constantly. And it's been globally informed and imposed for thousands of years. So I still live as a second class citizen. I know everybody with a vagina that displays secondary sex characteristics that aren't male have the same similar experience of receiving male violence that I do from the public sphere. So this book is going to be an excellent read, and I'm going to make videos reading it to you because I want to explore this with you and share this experience, this discovery, and yeah, just see what happens as this book happens. Because I'm kind of a fertile ground for this sort of idea. I've made my own observations about um, the instincts men and women have around each other, dealing with each other, and dealing with the patriarchy. So, my basis, I started out politically as a radical leftist in the southern conservative rural countryside of Virginia. And so I've always been on the unpopular side of opinion for a very long time. And then when I moved to a very liberal city and I got a chance to see that hypocrisy in action on a day to day community basis, I also got to learn about my own shadow at the time. I had internalized a lot of liberal snobbery about basically thinking of myself as better than the people that lived outside of the city, like in the rural communities. There's a big problem in the cultural divide between the urban areas and the rural areas in Virginia. And it's darn near Civil War level fight for political representation. So, um, and then so I moved to a liberal city, and after about 10 years, I became more conservative. So now I'm a woman-centered political person who rides both sides. I look for common ground with women, period. Okay? I don't care which side of the aisle a woman is on. And for the most part, I can typically understand what motivates and what listening skills go a long way. If you want to understand another person's perspective, especially another woman's perspective, first off, women make up the most diverse group of people on the planet. Okay, so you're in for diversity. Get ready. Also, most women are generally predisposed towards life worship and creativeness versus death worship and destructiveness. So, male violence statistics support this. Global male supremacy supports this. You have two groups of people. You have one group that has classically used violence to dominate and subjugate the other one, and the other one has been unallowed, disallowed, and forbidden globally from picking up those very same tools. Okay? That's a male dominated privilege. That's women are in prison for trying to defend themselves en masse from men. And male violence. So I'll just drop this one last statistic. In 2015, the FBI released violent crimes committed by gender, and they stopped doing that probably because bitches like me won't shut up about it. So 97 to 98% of violent crimes committed, all violent crimes, are by men. When I saw that statistic and I realized what I was looking at, I understood that that statistic in any other context other than challenging patriarchal misogyny or challenging male privilege to violence would be talked about, except that we're in such an ingrained male supremacy, we can't talk about this yet. So, yeah, that's the reality of right now. We're in a pretty dire situation for women. And men are losing their minds because the inroads that women have made are threatening their sense of male supremacy. And when they get threatened, they tend to hit the reset button and call it a revolution. Almost all revolutions, though, result in women losing rights that they had earned up till that point. Oftentimes, revolutions will leave women with fewer rights than before the revolution started. I have documentaries about this, which I'm going to make videos about. But for now, let's explore Women After All by Dr. Melvin Konner. And let's read a little bit about this. Yes. Human genetic fluke that is surprisingly common due to a change in a key pair of chromosomes. In the normal condition, the two look the same, but in this disorder, one is malformed and shrunken beyond recognition. The result is a shortened lifespan, higher mortality at all ages, an inability to reproduce, premature hair loss, and brain defects variously resulting in attention deficit, hyperactivity, conduct disorder, hypersexuality, and an enormous excess of both outward and self-directed aggression. It is called maleness. In Women After All, Melvin Konner traces the arc of evolution to explain the relationships between women and men. With patience and wit, he explores the knotty question of whether men are necessary in the biological destiny of the human race. He draws on multiple colorful examples from the natural world, such as the mating habits of the octopus, a very big brain creature, by the way, the black widow, anglerfish, and jacana, and argues that maleness in humans is hardly necessary to the survival of the species. Oh, 2 paragraphs out of the inner flap. Is this not something every daughter needs to read? If I ran a Hogwarts school for women, I'm thinking this would be required reading. I personally, if I ran a Hogwarts school for women, I would absolutely have those ladies eat, sleep, breathe, sweat, and bleed confidence. Because in a patriarchy full of the manstitutions of knowledge and power that they're going to have to take themselves and pit themselves against to survive, they're going to need every ounce of self-worth they can muster and that I can help them keep. Women, after all. I think it's going to be a good one.